Hello guys, today I'm going to talk about the Japanese knife steels. I just wanted to make this video to let you guys know that what types of Japanese steels are and what's the difference between them. You can easily find this information on Google, so after this video you can look it up for yourself, but in this video I'm going to just cover up the just enough material about the Japanese knife steels, okay? Now, I've talked about the Yasuki steels in the past. The Yasuki is a city in Japan where Hitachi Ginzoku Seikujasho, which means Hitachi metal factory, metal works, I should say. Anyway, Hitachi makes steels in Yasuki in Japan, so it's called Yasuki. And Hagane means it's a steel, so it's Yasuki Hagane. It starts from Yasuki Hagane. That's the source of an iron. And they reduce impurity, okay? So they make it pure, okay? And then it becomes yellow paper steel number 2. In Japanese, it's a Kigami Nigo, okay? And then they slightly reduce carbon, okay? And then it becomes yellow paper 3. In Japanese it's a Kigami Sango. And then from yellow paper 2 they reduce impurity again, so they make it pure, okay? So that becomes white paper 2, which in Japanese is Shirogami Nigo, okay? And then they slightly reduce carbon, and then it becomes white paper 3. It's a Shirogami Sango, okay? But they increase the carbon and it becomes white paper 1. It's a Shirogami Ichigo, okay? So basically white paper 2 is just a plain pure carbon steel, okay? You can find it many times in Japanese cutlery, sushi knives. They have white paper steels, incredibly sharp, and it's really, white paper is very good at sharpness, okay? You can get sharper than blue paper steel with the white paper steel, okay? It's very sharp, but the problem is it doesn't hold very much longer, okay? So they add tungsten and chrome to it, so it becomes blue paper 2, which is in Japanese it's Aogami Nigo, okay? And then they increase carbon, and then it becomes blue paper 1. It's Aogami Ichigo, okay? And then they add more chromes, and more carbons, and more tungsten, and vanadium, and molybdenum, and then it becomes super blue paper steel, okay? Oh, yeah. And then it's called Aogami Super, okay? So I cannot really say blue paper 2 is better than white paper 3 because it has different applications to it. That's why they're doing all this adding and reducing actions to the steels so they can have different properties, okay? Being reduced carbon, this side is very tough, okay? Which means it's very resilient. You can't really break the steel, okay? So it's more like flexible side and more like tough side. So it's good for cutting wood, maybe saw stuff. And then here, this is hard side, okay? Blades on this side is very hard. White paper 1, blue paper 1, blue paper is very hard, okay? So it's better in cutting stuff, okay? It's more like a knife. And this side, soft stuff, yellow paper 3 and white paper 3 is tough side, so it's more like a saw, kind of work that shouldn't be brittle, okay? And white paper is kind of intermediate, okay? And blue paper 2 is also, it's intermediate steels. Now, I should say, why is it white paper and blue paper and yellow paper? Or why is it color? When Japanese produce the steels from the factory, They wanted to distinguish the steels because steels all look the same, right? It's all just a plain silver grayish color. So they started to put labels with the color papers. So when the yellow paper steel, which was no name at then, and then they put yellow paper stickers on the steels, which they called it, that's the yellow paper steel, which means steels from Yasuki Hagane reduced impurity. That steel is yellow stickers on, so it's yellow paper steel. Now, when they put other white stickers on the other steel, that's called white paper steel. It's their code name for distinguished steels. And then they put blue stickers, blue papers on the steel, so it's called blue paper steel. Now that code names, their code names in the factory just stuck with their name, and then other guys out there, knife makers or customers know now that as a blue paper. So yeah, I think it's a very cool name for steel, yeah, things like that. And yeah, the steel doesn't really show bluish color or yellowish color or whitish color in them. They all look the same. You can't really distinguish between what steel they're made of. So usually knife makers, if you turn it back or on the packaging, there's a steel name on the box or in the back of the paper which says what kind of steel was made, because there are no other way to know that. You can probably guess the steel, but there are no way you can distinguish steels by just looking at them or use them. Good heat treated steels, heat treating and who forged the steels just affects the steels, improve the knife performance. So you can't really say. Okay, so here's the chart from Japanese website. I got this from Google, and here it says Japanese Ichigo and Japanese, white paper steel number 1 and white paper number 3. There's a difference between carbon and silicon is same, manganese is same, phosphorus is about the same, and sulfur is about the same range. Just difference between carbons. They have a range of these, so there could be intolerance between the batches or lot between the forge. They pour the steels into the bar type or A types. They could be this batch could be 1.25 and next batch will be 1.26. So there are some intolerance between these, and some knife makers really want to get the specific the components of each element so that they have one, what they need. But small knife makers cannot really get hold of good materials, so they have a hard time right now. So I know one maker who tries to get the good blue paper steel, but he says it's not easy to get hold of. So I'm waiting for his work. Anyway, okay. So this is white paper 1 and this is white paper 2. And here are the properties. Okay, the carbon it's about the same as white paper. Okay, and silicon it's about the same, and manganese about the same, and phosphorus is about the same, sulfur is about the same, but they have a chrome and they have tungsten in it. Okay, what this does is that chrome gives you more wear resistance. Okay, and it's give you rust resistance also, so it's hard to rust. Okay, chrome gives you a wear resistance and rust resistance, so it's better than white steel. It's better than white steel in that property. Okay, and tungsten gives a hardness of the blade, and that improves sharpness. The hardness, which is the heart of the steel is that if you have very fine edge, if the steel is not hard, it's easily to get bent. Okay, it's easily to get bent, so this becomes dull very quickly. So you need to have a hard type of steel that can be hardened with the heat treatment. Okay, no matter how good your heat treatment is, if you don't have a good proper steel, it will bend. Okay, and then even though you have a very good steel, and if you don't heat treat it properly, it will bend. Okay, so you need to have a good steel and good heat treatment so that you can have the hard edge properly. Okay, that's how it does. So you need tungsten, and you need the chrome. The chrome is the key element to distinguish between stainless steel and carbon steel. I'll talk about later in the future video about stainless steel compared to carbon steel. That's determined by how much chrome they have in their steel, so I'll talk about that. Okay, and there's this is Aogami Super, so it's a blue paper steel super, and then they have higher carbon. Okay, it's a higher carbon. They have same amount of silicon. They have about same amount of manganese. They have same amount of phosphorus. They have same amount of sulfur. I'm sorry, and they have little bit amount of chrome, about the same chrome, but they have more tungsten, and they have molybdenum, and they have a vanadium. Okay, so see this white line here. You follow these. Okay, these are the blue paper steel, super blue paper steel. Okay, right. They have a chrome, more chrome, which will give you, like I said, more wear resistance and more rust resistance. And there are more tungsten, which will give you a hardness of the blade and improve the sharpness. Okay, and they have molybdenum, which it gives you toughness and durability. Okay, so it's more like a, it gives you toughness, so it's very tough to, to the steel. You get tougher steels, and this is important. They have a vanadium. Okay, this is very important because this gives you a fine grain of the steel. It's fine crystal of the steel, so this gives you much more wear resistance and toughness in the steel. So what it means is that if you heat up the steel, the grain structure changes in the heat treatment process, and then you quench it in oil or in water or in air, the grain stops from moving. Okay, and in that process, that hardens the steels, and that gives you more tough steels. But if you add vanadium, the grain structure gets finer, and then you can have very tight grain in the steel. Okay, you can really see. You have to see in a microscopic range, but it gives you very tight grain so that you can have really good wear resistance and also rust resistance, because in that between grain, the water can start a rust, so that tighter grain means more wear resistance also. I mean rust resistance also, and it gives you much more wear resistance and toughness. And I'm going to talk about in future video also, but there are company called Crucible, and they makes a CPM steel, which means it's a powder steel. So they make the steel with a very fine powder. It's really fine powder. They like project these powders from the forge, and they melt the steels again, so they have very fine grain structure in them, so they have really good wear resistance. So with the CPM 154 and 154 cm. There are difference between them. I will talk about in other video, and CPM is better in all aspects. So CPM is good. Okay, in short. All right. So yeah. Oh, next I'll show you example of what it does. Okay. Okay, here are the type of Japanese steels, and there are some charts that they are suitable for wood or suitable for anything. Okay, I'll show you a good example. Okay, guys. Here, if this is a super blue steel, and there are also super blue steel 1, and this is super blue steel 1 and B. It's A and B, so it's different here. Even though there are they're same blue steel number 1, there is a difference between carbon, how much carbon they have, and how much chrome they have, and how much tungsten they have. If they're in the range of this chart, they are just the same. So even though you have 0.15 and you have 0.20, they are all the same. So yeah, you can see here example that even though there are difference between components of elements, they have all the same. They have same name as a blue paper number 1. So some knife makers, very small knife makers, they're trying to get hold of a good blue paper 1 or good blue paper 2 or good super algamis, but they, like I said, they have a hard time on finding the knives. Okay, they also produce a knife called SKH51. It's a high-speed steel. Means, in short, they usually steels get hard, they lose temper, right? But high-speed steel doesn't really lose temper in low heat. They lose temper in very high heat. So they use these steels to cut the steels, or they use it where steel needs to be hold the edge even though it's very hot. So it's called high-speed steel, and this is what I said, the special powder high-speed steels that they make in a powder form, so that they have more wear resistance and tough and all that. So because crack starts from very small cracks. Okay, so if you don't really have small cracks, it's really hard to break. So when you guys break something, the break starts from the weakest point. Okay, so if you have crack in that, whether it's a steel or copper or plastic or whatever, if it has a very small crack in it, if you try to bend, the small crack starts to get wider and it finally breaks. Okay, guys, that was about it. Okay, and about the my a quick update of my run knife. I haven't done anything to more because I'm waiting for my maker's mark to arrive, and then as soon as they arrive, I'll try to stamp it. Meanwhile, I'll try to treat the surface for the maker's mark. There was a trouble between the company, the stamp company, and I could adjust the problems, and it's all fixed. So they're trying to make the stamps. I hope they really do a good job on it, and I hope it leaves good impression on my knife. I'm waiting. Okay, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in next video. Don't forget to put thumbs up, and thanks, subscribe. Okay. I can't talk today, guys. Okay, bye bye.